Another pleasure being here. A big warm welcome, well maybe not so warm from me as well. So I'm going to take you through the cars this afternoon. I've been given strict orders to make it a rapid, quite a fast parade because the inclement weather is coming. So first up we have Class A, which is the pre-war open. Obviously slightly bad weather, so it's not open at the moment. Mary, Peter, very nice to see you. In front of you, you've got a 1933 Hispano-Suiza J12 Torpedo by Labourdette, a French coach builder. What an imposing car. Entered here by Abba Kogan. Hispano-Suiza was producing cars and they switched to aircraft engines in World War I. And actually you see the mascot on the radiator, which comes from an emblem of a plane from which Hispano was building aeroplanes. After World War II, all of the Hispano parts and the archives got hidden away in Paris during the German occupation, until in 1949, after the war, there was a prince that found all the parts, found all the elements left over, and had this car built for himself. It's a unique short chassis, 11.3 litre car. Can you imagine the speed of this car? And it's one of only 2 J12s built with this engine and on the short chassis. Prince sold it in 1954, and the car ended up in Guadeloupe, of all places. Imagine that. Stayed there in decades until it was brought back to America, and this is a Pebble Beach veteran, the Concours d'Elegance, where it was in 1988. Imagine that after an extensive restoration. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hispano-Suiza J12. Something that we probably all recognize now. The Mercedes-Benz, the 500k Special Roadster. I must bring you a green tile. This comes from a collection in Germany, presented in the 1930s. You can imagine when this car was first shown to the public. It was the halo car for Mercedes-Benz. Berlin Motor Show, imagine the crowds were just stunned by the design and the presence of this car, the size of it. Look at how long the rear tail is with those rear mounted spares. But not only that, in Berlin, when it was presented, cast your mind back to the 1930s, people couldn't believe that a car of this size could reach 110 miles per hour. This was not only a luxury cruiser, but it was a sports car. Some might even say it was the hypercar of its era. Ordered for royalty in Paris. You can imagine how expensive it was. It was actually a Russian aristocrat that ordered this car new and immediately entered it in a Concours d'Elegance, just like we have today. Same concept. Only 3 owners in 90 years. Imagine that. All the way from Germany. Thank you very much for bringing us the car, the 500k Mercedes-Benz Special Roadster. Tom Price in the Bugatti Type 57C Alvis Special Cabriolet from 1938. This is a Resistance Heroes car, delivered to a doctor in France who was a key figure in the French resistance during World War II. Well, he was arrested and survived being the imprisonment by the German forces, but remarkably, he then was reunited. He had hidden his Bugatti at the time, and remarkably reunited with his car and stayed with him until 1945. You see it as a stylish, beautiful car. Well, imagine the second owner, a Swiss hotelier, used this car to go racing. It was campaigned in Swiss hill climbs, and it was known for, I quote, sideways driving through the Alps. How about that for an elegant car doing some competitive racing at the time? Modified later in his life and then re-restored back to its original gangloff cabriolet design, and where Tom has won his class at Pebble Beach in 2024. So quite a spectacular and important car. Thank you very much for bringing the 57 over. all the way from United States of America. Imagine, he shipped the car all the way from America. I know because it arrived, I saw it arrive just last week. 1939 LaGrande V12 drop head coupe. What a magnificent car. This is a Bentley masterpiece. You say, why do I call it a Bentley masterpiece? Well, LaGrande and Bentley were one, and the V12 engine that is in this car was the last design that W. Bentley himself signed off on before leaving the company. 180 horsepower, again, don't forget, 1939. It was one of the fastest and most advanced cars that existed in the day. Twin overhead camshafts in each bank of 6-cylinder, a level of sophistication in the LaGrande engine that was never, ever seen before. 4.5 litre V12, as I told you, and capable of 100 miles per hour. This is one of the cars that really offered one of the most refined rides of the era. Thank you very much for bringing the V12 LaGrande to us here at Salon Privé. Changing class at great speed, and a very appropriate car to change class at great speed. We're on the Class B already, really flying through them today. Pre-war sports. And in front of you, you've got a 1928 Alvis Le Mans team car. But there's something even more special about it. It's a first front-wheel drive production car ever to have been made. Can you imagine? 1.5 litre, 4-cylinder, overhead cam, supercharged of course, independent front suspension, CV joints, which is quite advanced at the time, and it was a great handling car. And for that reason, it was entered into the Le Mans 24 Hours. There were 2 team cars for Le Mans, and this is, in front of you here, the only one that survives of the 2 cars from 1928. This car was part of the Alvis factory's challenge to go and race at Le Mans in the 24-hour race, and it was driven by one of the Bentley boys, actually. Finished 9th overall and 2nd in class. The only cars that beat this, I can call it little Alvis, were the big engined Bentleys and Mercedes at the time. So it fared really, really well. Unique, as it's the only one that survives, and very advanced and nimble handling for its time. Thank you very much for bringing the car over to us, Mike Baker, a keen supporter of us here at Salon Privé. Let's talk about history. 1929 OM. You probably won't, good to see you, no, you probably won't have heard of the OM. It's called the 665S Superba. I can tell you that OM is from Italy, with a body from Carrozzeria Sport Milano. Now, OM is a brand not to be underestimated. It was founded in Brescia, Italy. OM stands for Officine Meccaniche, mechanical workshop, established in 1899, but it had great success in racing. As a matter of fact, in 1927, the very first Mille Miglia to ever take part, yes, you've guessed it, it was an OM Superba that took overall victory. The 1,600 kilometer route with a driver by the name of Ferdinando Minoia. And you'll be interested to know that it was Ferdinando that drove this car as well in the UK here. It was an official entry in the Irish Grand Prix where that Mille Miglia legend, that winner, took the car, and it kept on racing here with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for bringing it over. The Officine Meccaniche OM. And Brockington Lee all the way from America with the 1930. She gets a round of applause just arriving up on stage, and well deserved as well, with a Bentley, a 4.5 litre supercharged blower Bentley. Now, at the risk of sounding rude, there's a certain gentleman in France who called this car the world's fastest lorry. That gentleman was, it's not me that says it, that gentleman was Ettore Bugatti. He saw these cars and thought, my goodness, it's a massive 4.5-litre supercharged monster of a car. What are they driving, these Bentley boys? Well, it's the fastest lorry in the world. And you know what? The Bentley boys wore that name and adopted that name with great pride. It was the big, unstoppable car in the racing at Le Mans. The 4.5 supercharged car never actually won a race. It was always troubled with reliability problems, but it was chasing the Mercedes of Rudolf Caracciola in the race circuits all over the world. You see, it was Birkin and WO. There was a great sort of opposed idea at the time. They wanted supercharging or the big 6-litre or 8-litre Bentleys for the reliability. But this is a really special car, and I've got to go on about it, sorry, but it's Wolf Barnato's personal car. He was Bentley's chairman, 3-time Le Mans winner himself, and probably the most famous of all the Bentley boys. Well, he had this very distinctive car built all out of aluminium by Gurney nutting, which are flamboyant. Look at the wheel arches, look at the tail, such a flamboyant touch to the car, which really suited him well because Barnato was known to be a very flamboyant man, larger than life personality. So this unique blower Bentley, that was Wolf Barnato's personal car. Thank you very much for bringing it along, and I don't agree with Ettore Bugatti. We have an Invicta Type S coming up, designed by Landspeed Genius. This is the low chassis frame. Hello, Annette Abacci. Oh, look at you. Low chassis Invicta, engineered by Reed Walton, the same man behind Malcolm Campbell's Bluebird records. So it was designed to be fast. Look at how low the chassis. The hint is in the name. It's a low chassis car. It was all built for the better handling of the car, and handle well it did, because it went on to race at Silverstone 6 hours, Prescott hill climbing, before it was owned by a Broadway director who then sold it to the Sound of Music actor Christopher Plummer, who recalls having bought for the car for something like $2,000. I mean, obviously a long time ago, and it's worth a lot more now, don't worry. And driving it from New York to Canada. What a nice little story. I'm sure Annette's going to go on some very large adventures with it as well. Annette Abacci, thank you very much, all the way from Germany, for bringing, she's not much of a Concours lady, she's a real driver. So it's really good to see her here. There she goes. Bye, Annette. Mamma mia. You look so serious. Well, I guess you would be serious driving an 8C Monza. This is a Grand Prix legend, isn't it? Designed by Vittorio Jarno, supercharged, straight 8C Monza. It dominated Grand Prix racing in the 1930s. It's an Alfa Romeo, of course. It's an 8C, 8 cylinders. It's called a Monza. Why? Well, it's earned its victory in the 1931 Italian Grand Prix, and forever then, the name Monza stuck with the cars. Now, you know, in the 1930s, countries entered their cars, they were very patriotic, so Mercedes would have silver cars or white cars, and Delahaye or Delage, the French brands, would have blue cars. This is obviously an Alfa Romeo. You might think, why is it not a red car? The national color for Italy was red. Well, it was sold new to a French driver who wanted to race the car and was racing the car all over the world, and he added his colors to this car. So painted light blue, but look, he kept that red stripe, so it's in the French racing colors with a little bit of Italian heritage underneath. Ended up in South America. It raced all over the world, and like all the other 8C Monzas, it truly dominated. This is a Grand Prix car. This is, when you watch a Grand Prix now, this is the Ferrari, if I can say that, because I love a Ferrari, Formula 1 car. This is a Formula 1 car of the 1933 season. Thank you very much for bringing it on. moment of truth, whether it starts. Listen to that 8-cylinder engine. Pre-war American classics. Away with the racing cars, the racing Grand Prix cars, and bring on the American classic. Look at how comfortable they are all in that car, top up. This is a 1928 Cadillac 341A Sport Phaeton. This is luxury at its best. Have a look at the car. Delivered to 1920 to its first owner in Portland. He specified pretty much every option you could have at the time. Steering lamps, the mascot, tire mirrors. Notice where the mirrors are mounted on the spare wheels. Even a folding trunk, folding rack for the trunk. You've got to imagine that in 1928, this car cost almost $4,000 before any of the option. This was Cadillac's most expensive car that you could buy at the time, and on top of it, we have added every single option possible. But what I love the most about this car is if you have a close look, it remains in a remarkably original condition. Still with the original lacquer, that hand-painted coach trim line that you see on the car. It's even got all the period brochures, all the documentation to go with it. It is a true preservation car. What a stunning Cadillac. The very best that America had to offer in 1928. Thank you very much, Axel, for bringing the car over to us all the way from Germany. You thought that Cadillac was expensive. Well, wow, hello, champagne in the back. This is gonna get a prize, I can see it. Duesenburg SJ dual cowl Phaeton. I mean, Tom Leoli has brought over this enormous Duesenburg over from America. What a machine, and look at the restoration. The SJ was one of the fastest and most powerful cars of its time. This was, by no comparison, this was the king of the road. And it was owned by a very famous Wall Street operator who made millions, literally. You gotta think, 1933, he made millions shorting the stock market during the crash of 1929. His antics became so well known, the story was so well known, that there's even a film by the name of Wall Street that you might have all seen or heard about, which was based around his story. I mean, this is a real SJ Duesenburg. I can't quite believe that it's here. It ended up then from Hollywood to Mexico, where there was an Italian industrialist in Mexico that owned the car. I mean, it's been through, you name it, it's been through it, but it's great to see it here. And I know with a salesman, some of them a bit like me, who just wouldn't sell it because he loved it so much. This is the king of the road. When you have an SJ Duesenburg, I don't think you ever want to sell it. Thank you very much for taking the car over here, all the way from America, and enjoy the champagne. Packard, ladies and gentlemen, still staying in America, 1930s again. This is a 12, so the clue is in the name. It's a 12-cylinder Packard all-weather cabriolet by LaGrande. LaGrande, an American coach builder. It's an ultra-rare, as they would call it in America, a survivor. The all-weather cabriolet was actually the rarest of all the configurations, and only 4 cars were built, of which 1 or 2 are known to survive. It was delivered to Hollywood and became part of, quite fun little fact, Charlie Chaplin's studios, or at least their fleet of cars that they were using. So it's got some movie and glamorous ties already back then, and then it ended up in the films with Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Duvall and people like Laurence Olivier. So a very rare all-weather cabriolet by LaGrande. Thank you very much for bringing the Survivor over. It's quite rare to see one, especially in America. That Packard 12. ladies and gentlemen, elegance, grace, and luxury. All the way from Denmark, Mark Vogel with his 1933 Delage D8 SS by Gurney Nutting. Delage in the 1920s and 30s when its golden age. A French manufacturer and was making cars to rival Bugatti and Hispano-Suiza and Rolls-Royce. So they were really at the very top of their game. And this, what you see here, the Delage D8 SS, was the car made for the London Motor Show. It's a showpiece for the London Olympia Motor Show in 1933. Lightweight aluminium body by Gurney Nutting. Remember the Bentley that we saw before? Also a Gurney Nutting car. Such a special car that it ended up with Michael Buckley's, one of the most foremost authorities on Delage, who kept it for many, many years as it's one of the more important models. Original body, multiple owners, but here we see it back in its former glory, exactly as you would have seen it in 1933 at the London Motor Show when it dazzled everyone after a meticulous restoration that's been carried out. You've got to think about how much work, time and effort all these owners put in to get their cars to this level. Thank you very much, Mark, for bringing your car over all the way from Denmark. Rolls-Royce Phantom 3. This is again a Sedanka DeVille. Tony Robinson, he goes from a rally car to a Rolls-Royce Phantom 3 in one clean swoop. I have to say, I love the story behind this car. I mean, look at the opulence of it. And you know I like it. Obviously, it minds me in the world of buying and selling cars. Well, this was originally acquired, this car, by a Raymond Way, and who was one of Britain's most flamboyant car dealers. He's the guy that pioneered the motor trade, the hire purchase. And he used this Phantom as his rolling office. I mean, how cool is that? This was his London office. Had a driver who would drive him around. He had a complete desk in the back, a typewriter, because you couldn't send emails from your iPhone when you're in the back of this car. An electric kettle, because as a good Englishman, he'd like a cup of tea when he was traveling around. And they say, it's still there, even had a vacuum cleaner. I mean, how about that? What a cool office for you when you're a car dealer. I aspire to have an office like that one day, and a driver. Didn't finish there. It went on, this car appeared in films with none other than Peter Sellers and Sophia Loren comedy, The Millionairess, which was quite good, and in another movie with Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, think about this. It's never been restored. 55,000 miles from you. He probably just, the first owner probably just sat in the back of the car and typed his letters and made himself cups of teas. It has absolutely everything with the car. It's a time capsule. Tony, the day that you're ready to sell it, I'm going to turn it into my office because it's amazing in the back there. Thank you very much for bringing the car. I absolutely love the story behind it. Johan Punawala, a keen supporter of our event here, and he has brought something which is really special. The 1949 Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith, all the way from India, and this car was ordered brand new by the Maharaja of Mysore. At the time, he was the second richest man in the world. Can you imagine? The second richest man in the world. And his purchases were so frequent and so extravagant at the time that Rolls-Royce staff, they coined a special term called, it said, doing a Mysore, which was to describe bulk orders, because he would come and order 6 or 7 cars in one go. This was the most luxurious Silver Wraith ever made. It included silver crests on the doors, flagstaff, picnic boxes, silver sandwich boxes, flasks, brushes, china cups and saucers. in the back. I don't think there is any car that has so much luxurious ornaments on it than any other, ordered by the second richest man in the world. And imagine, later, this car actually even carried Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip in 1961 when they visited India. What a car steeped in history. Thank you very much for bringing your car over all the way from India. Class E, ladies and gentlemen, coach building by H.J. Mulliner. And the first car up is a Bentley R-Type Continental, yes, you guessed it, by H.J. Mulliner's, from the Bentley Motors Heritage Collection. How about that? Directly from Bentley. This, in front of you, was the world's fastest four-seat car of its day. When launched, it was like described as a magic carpet, which just annihilates distances. That was the quote from Autocar magazine. Engineering brilliance. Can you imagine that an R-Type Continental did 120 miles per hour at Mullery? To achieve this performance, Mulliner had an aluminium body. They had aluminium window frames. They even had aluminium bumpers. They try and keep the car light, but it was still a Bentley. It was still a big, heavy car. And a little anecdote for you. They were trying to do these at top speeds, but they had a tire problem. At the time, there wasn't a tire, a normal road tire, that could safely carry that weight over 110 miles an hour. So Dunlop had to supply special tires. Such was the speed capable of this car. So a true groundbreaking car. The Bentley R-Type Continental Fastback, the fastest four-seater of its day. Jonathan Lyons has brought us his R-Type Continental as well. And this is a globe-trotting Grand Tourer. It is a Continental in its name, and this particular car has definitely been to all the continents. You see, it was called a Continental because it was made for the continental trips. It was made for long distances. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this car has been to Jordan 4 times. It's done Shanghai to Beijing. It's been through the Alps of Switzerland, the Argentinian Millimilia. I mean, I don't think there's any R-Type Continental that has been to the 4 corners of the world. And it's a Concours favorite, as it's been entered in many, many events over the time. Have a look at the aerodynamic design, and I can tell you, these cars are extremely, extremely comfortable to drive. You've got to put yourself back to 1953, and a rich English businessman would buy a Continental R-Type, and the idea was to drive from Mayfair in your car and straight down to Saint-Tropez, and you would arrive in style, in class, and in great comfort. Jonathan, thank you very much for showing us your R-Type Continental. Now, we've got something very different. Harry and Heather Clark have brought their R-Type Continental lightweight saloon. It was an aluminium body car, again, a Mulliner saloon, and this was for the driver that wanted a faster, more spirited car compared to a Rolls-Royce, but still wanted the 4-seat and 4-door saloon. Lots of unique features in this car, lots of bespoke details. Again, luxury was still there, like cigar boxes in the armrests and vanity mirrors and sliding tables. They just don't make cars like they used to, do they? Despite its luxury fittings, this was still a true driver's car, because Bentley at the time was all about driving. And the journalists tested this R-Type Continental lightweight saloon, and they couldn't get over the speed at which you could take the car on the motorways through Europe, still enjoying your cigar in the back seat. Absolutely magnificent. Thank you very much. Very, very rare. Harry, Heather, Clark with the Bentley R-Type lightweight saloon. Thierry Dac from Belgium now. I mean, isn't it unbelievable? Cars literally from all over the world. Now this is an ultra rare and quite speedy Thierry. Coach built Bentley. There's just 12 of these drop head coupes ever built. Now, you've got to imagine, there's about 3,000 S1 Bentley S1 built, but only 12 with this drop head coupe like this. This was a Mulliner design, and it was extremely detailed. You must take time to look at the walnut dash inside. And can you imagine, such a rare car, such a valuable car, and by 2010, this car was in very, very, very poor condition. And Thierry took it upon himself to embark on a restoration which lasted many years. Aluminium body, so it didn't rust. They could save the body. And 3-year restoration between Belgium and England. Imagine how much time, effort, and money has gone into this car. Well, I'm glad to say that it's back and looking magnificent. One of the very rare 12 S1 drop head coupes. Thank you, Thierry. Thank you very much. I've talked to you about an S1. Well, now we have the last of our Bentleys. This is an S2 drop head. I'm going to test you all and see who can tell me the difference. Also very rare. I'm sure you'll all know that there was 15 of these cars made on the S2 platform, making it actually just as rare as the S1 drop head that we have just seen. Now, super rare, luxurious like the last. You could travel in comfort with 4 seats, but imagine this. In this car, the big innovation was the Bentley V8 engine, a small, all aluminium V8 engine. And that engine was so successful, the design of this engine that was introduced in this car was so good, it stayed in production, it stayed in various Bentleys until 2020. How about that for an engine? 60 years in production, so I guess they didn't really make many advances. The Bentley S2 Coupe by H.J. Mulliner. Thank you very much for bringing it along. I'm going to have to call Chris for this one. I think it must be his favorite car. Wind in Your Hair, Class E. Following the Gullwing, the Roadster came out. And I have to say, people initially were a bit skeptical, but the Roadster had a much easier entry. If you remember the 300SL Gullwing with the Gullwing doors, you had to step in the car, it had more luggage space and a refined handling compared to the Gullwing. This car now is just as desirable as a Gullwing. The 300SL Roadster is just as sought over by collectors. How things change. Now, in 1958, the car was delivered to Zurich in Switzerland, and the first owner was none other than Romy Schneider. She's immortalized in the CC films or La Piscine with Alain Delon. There are some great period photos with her and this car in Switzerland. So, as I said, by the late 1970s, the Roadsters were worth less than half of a Gullwing. How is it possible, you might ask yourself? Well, today, values have definitely reversed, and Roadster, the 300SL Roadster, is right up there with the Gullwing, probably because it's a more user-friendly car and doesn't get quite as hot as it does in a Gullwing. Thank you very much. Romy Schneider's 300SL Roadster. Aston Martin DB4 convertible with a smile. Not just any convertible, a Vantage SS, a bespoke production from Newport Pagnell. This was a true special, not like any other DB4. Hand finished this car, ladies and gentlemen, in 1962. It's the Newport Pagnell Works service with many, many unique details. It was ordered by Major France from Yorkshire, distinguished gentleman, of course. They wanted a very, very special car. And there's actually only 2 of these ever made. There is this car here and a left-hand drive car that was already in the 1960s delivered to a Middle Eastern sheikh, just to give you an idea of the cost and how special this car was. Imagine these cars go all over the world, and part of the fun is following the history, and it passed through a few hands after the first owner, and even ended up in Australia, of all places, before returning to the UK. And I remember actually this car. It was owned by a friend of mine, Frank Sidner, who was a racing driver. You might recognize the name Frank Sidner, who owned this particular car. Have a look, take your time to come and look at the car. It's been a full Aston Martin, Aston Engineering restoration. It is exactly as you see it today, as it came out the factory. One of the two DB4 convertible Vantage SS cars in existence. Thank you very much for taking it over. One of the very last Jaguar E-Types. A very late, not to get too nerdy, 3.8 litre. So the 3.8 litres were the first of the E-Types. Not to get too nerdy on you, it came out in June of '64. So probably one of the last Series 1 cars before it switched to Series 2. You could say it's the best of all worlds. You still have the 3.8 litre, you still have the Series 1 looks, but all the little extra betterments that were done to the car, so to the Series 2. A lot of these cars were exported to America. America was a huge market for the Jaguar E-Type, as you can see. Left-hand drive, definitely a US delivered car. And it was delivered to New York, but then it spent a lot of time in California. Now, for us in the classic car world, a California car is something that we all love to find, a car to restore. The dry climate means these cars remain very original and they don't have any corrosion issues. Now, we know an E-Type definitely corrodes, so it was a perfect car for restoration. And if you're an E-Type nerd, you'll be pleased to know it's got every date-coded item on the car, the gearbox, the engine. It is an example of exactly as an E-Type should be. Thank you very much for bringing your 3.8 Series 1 OTS, Open Top Sports, over to us. Ah, yes. 1971, good day, Mark. Nice to see you again. I had some time to I spent a bit of time with this car at the Lugano Concours, so I know it quite well. A 280SE 3.5 Cabriolet. Well, first of all, let me tell you about the model. Obviously, Mercedes convertible, and the 3.5 litre is the top of the range. It's the one that everyone wants, and I can tell you that Mark drives his car everywhere. He, when we met in Lugano, drove from Germany to Lugano, from Berlin. It wouldn't surprise me if he drove here for a Salon Privé as well. And you'll think, it's amazing. Well, it is a great car. The Mercedes-Benz quality of the 1970s is like no other. But remarkably, let me tell you about something remarkably. One man basically owned this car all of his life. A guy, a doctor in Berlin, had it for 46 years. Imagine that, just 69,000 kilometers from new. Completely original. Original paint, original interior, everything. Look at the chrome, talk about quality chrome. This is a true time capsule of Mercedes-Benz craftsmanship. And not only that, not only the car, if you can ask him to show you the paperwork, it is phenomenal. All the documentation has survived with this car. And for us as collectors, there is nothing better than a car that has all the original paperwork, maps, toolkits, you name it, it's with the car. Mark, thank you very much for coming to the 280SE, and keep driving it. Ah, the Lotus Elan. The lightweight icon, isn't it? Look at the smiles, I love it. Little Elan Sprint drop head, built at the Hethel factory. It's a featherweight construction. Remember, Lotus was all about being light. Colin Chapman would say, make it light and then remove weight. And interesting, to make these cars a bit cheaper at the time, Lotus would deliver it to you if you wanted as a kit. So in 1973, you could go to Bellenkovel and order this car in kit form. That was to avoid the purchase tax, a little Lotus quirk of the era. Now, a little anecdote for this car. So the first owner wanted solid red. Normally, you quite often see these cars standard in the two-tone gold gold leaf racing colors. That was a standard color, but no, it was specially ordered in red. And the story goes that Colin Chapman charged him an extra £15, now don't forget, this is a long time ago, for the pleasure, the privilege, I should say, of having the car all in one color, but actually it cost him less to produce anyway, which I thought was quite fun. Once a car dealer, forever a car dealer, I think is what they say. Beautifully restored. This is an example of how a car is restored to perfection. The judges were commenting to me today how all the details, it's not over-restored. We have a tendency to make cars better than they were today, but every detail in this car is exactly how it would have come out of the factory. As a matter of fact, it's been in many Lotus publications as an example of the exacting Lotus Elan Sprint restoration. Thank you very much for bringing your Elan. It certainly deserves a round of applause. Aston Martin, well, we've changed class. Class G, British GTs, from London to, hello gentlemen, from London to Lugano. How very appropriate. We should have named it from Blenheim to Lugano. Well, we have the Aston Martin V8 Vantage Volante Prince of Wales. This is the big V8 drophead Aston Martin, completely made by hand. Dylan is a real specialist and a real, he loves a good Aston V8, don't you, Dylan? You just love, it's that muscly look, but in the Prince of Wales spec, so you've got all the power, you've got all the options, you've got all the luxuries in this V8 Vantage Volante, but without all the exterior frills, to make it a more stylish and more exacting car. Imagine, this is a 1989 car. This design has definitely stood the test of time. I just love the muscular look of the V8 Vantage, and in Prince of Wales spec, it's the rarest and the most desirable. Thank you very much, Dylan, for bringing your Aston over to us. Look at the size of the Aston. Listen to that V8 rumble. And look at the size of the Triumph Italia. Still a 2-litre. I mean, how refined and sweet is that? A Vignale-bodied Triumph. A little Italo-Anglo creation, which is Signor Ruffino. He was the Triumph's Italian importer, and he wanted to pair the TR3 reliability and the performance with an elegant styling. So, what did he do? He convinced the designer Giovanni Michelotti, who at the time was working at Vignale, to make a blend of Italian style and coach building with the excellent British engineering. Well, it came out in 1959 at the Turin Motor Show. What a better place. 329 cars were made, and then Triumph launched the TR4, and it pretty much killed the sales of the Triumph Italia. It completely undercut Ruffino's project, as the price was way too high. Imagine, this car cost twice the price of a normal TR3, and it just proved to be too expensive for all the buyers. He was almost trying to compete with the Ferraris of the era. One of the most complete cars that we've ever seen. What a magnificent restoration, and super rare. I absolutely love it. Thank you very much for bringing the little Triumph Italia over to us. Aston Martin DB6. I don't know if you all know where the DB numbers, letters come from. Well, I can tell you DB is because David Brown had bought Aston Martin, and so why not? If I owned a car company, I would make all the models start with MG. My name's Max Gerardo. I would make MG1, MG2. MG already exists, actually. I might get in trouble. Affectionately known as Agatha. This is Aston's Grand Touring at its best. ZF5 speed gearbox, Connolly leather interior, a beautiful straight 6 exhaust. It's everything that an aristocratic gentleman should have. It's exactly a DB6. It's luxurious and performance, only all at the same time. Striking, I think you might say. It's called Bahama Yellow, this color. We always thought there was only one, but then a second car was actually found. But how cool that a businessman in Manchester ordered this car new, and how brave was he at the time to order it in Bahama Yellow, and he kept it. He must have loved it, he must have liked it, because he kept it until 1997. The Agatha was the next owner that nicknamed it Agatha, and since purchase it's been seen all over the world, from Villa d'Este to rallies from Switzerland to Paris to Schloss Liegen, of course, here at Salon Privé. Affectionately known as Agatha, the DB6 Mark II. Very nice to see you, thank you very much. Jaguar E-Type. What a smile. A family treasure, I think we can call it, can't we? Let me tell you, if I'm not mistaken, this car has been in the family since 1985, is that right? Since 1985. I think it always deserves a round of applause when someone keeps a car for such a long time. Bought by Melvin at first, on the advice of his accountant, I am told, I'm reliably informed, who suggested it was a tax-efficient way to spend some money, a tax-efficient investment. And I bet you're glad that he's actually bought it at the time. For decades, it was stored away in a barn, protected from the elements probably, and never really gone at, as we like to say. And when it was sort of rediscovered, a big restoration was undertaken in 2022. So, full nut and bolt, 4,000 hours to restore this car, to bring it back to factory specification. So, Melvin eventually handed the keys over to his daughter Angie and her husband Steve, which I think are in the car. So, it's a true family car, and I'm afraid to say, Angie, that now comes the responsibility of having the car. You can never, ever, ever sell it. No, well, it's never going to be sold, is it? I love the E-Type. So you are going to drive it, though. It's been restored, and now it's time to get on the road and drive it. Well done, well done. Keep it forever and keep driving it. Mercedes-Benz Gullwing. Look at that. And not just any Gullwing. This Gullwing was built in September of '54. Not very interesting, you might say. Very early Gullwing. Not very interesting, unless you're Chris. Where's Chris? Chris will find that very, very interesting. Oh, he's not that interested, he's not even here. But what is cool about this car is that it's the 1954 Earl's Court Motor Show car. So, it revolutionized cars. Imagine 1954, you come to the Earl's Court Motor Show and you have the Gullwing doors open like that. Isn't that quite the spectacle? The world's press went crazy for the car. And these Gullwing doors are not just a styling thing. This is considered to be the first supercar, and the chassis is a tubular chassis. It comes all the way up into the hill, in the sills, so they couldn't have a normal door. Hence the Gullwing doors. People think it's a styling thing, not at all. It is an engineering solution. Well, Rob Walker, you know, the Formula One privateer, heir to the Johnny Walker fortune, he did try and buy the car. He saw it, and he saw it at Earl's Court, and he fell in love. But only for it to be damaged on a road test by the Mercedes engineers before he could take delivery. So he never actually ended up buying this car. It went back to the factory, it was repaired, brought back after the repairs, and sold still here in the UK. It was a Mercedes-Benz UK demonstrator, and it's had that registration number, RG030, from new. Second owner of the car, first owner 1956, no car. If anyone knows that, from the Car Biscuits fame. And he had it for almost 20 years. This is one of the true icons of our world. We always talk about what are the most iconic cars. Well, the 300 SL Gullwing is definitely one of the iconic cars. And notice how this car has got the Rudge center lock wheels. Maybe not very exciting to you, but I do get excited about a Gullwing with Rudge center lock wheels. Thank you very much for bringing the Earl's Court Motor Show 300 SL Gullwing. Been in the UK since new. Watch your heads as the Gullwing doors go by. David Sidoric has kindly sent over the Alfa Romeo 1900 SS Zagato. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, so Mr. Barkaway has kindly taken the wheel of his Alfa Romeo Zagato. Super Sprint, SS stands for Super Sprint Zagato. There's only 39 of these cars built or bodied by Zagato between 54 and 57, and this is pinnacle 1950s Alfa Romeo. This is lightweight, this is good looking, this is aluminium, this is the racing Alfa Romeo of the 1950s. This is where lightweight meets performance. There is nothing extra on the car. Look at that signature double bubble roof. They tried to make the windscreen and roofline so low, they realized that the drivers needed a bit more space in the car, and so the signature double bubble roof was created by Zagato. Aerodynamically efficient, but yet so beautiful. And I'm pleased to say that David Sidoric, this is not just a showing piece, it's a car that he drives. I mean, I met him recently and he said to me, this is actually one of his favorite cars to drive. It's so light and alive, and of course follows the Zagato philosophy, balancing form and function in one car. It's poetic expression, if you ask me. Thank you very much for sending the car over from America. Comes from one of the foremost Zagato collections. Quick moment of photos, and we'll send you on your way. Hors has come over all the way from Switzerland with what looks like his wife, driving up, filming, no pressure. 1956 Facel Vega FV2B. I told you about the little Triumph earlier on, where Italian styling meets the British mechanicals. Well, here we have French luxury. Nice to see yours. I'm glad that you can make it over Salon Privé. We have a French luxury meeting with American power. You see, it's got that Parisian coachwork design, and it's got that big 5.4-liter Chrysler Hemi V8, making it one of the most luxurious, one of the most glamorous Grand Tours of the 1950s. Look at the design of the Facel Vega. Look at those lights. If you're seeing the car from profile, you see there's a V inside the rear lights, in the red lights, embossed into the headlight cover. I mean, it is true opulence. It is the best that Paris or France could offer, coupled with the American machine. And actually, this car was sold to Bob Dalton, a Beverly Hills gentleman that had a restaurant, and he'd have all the rich and famous people at his restaurant. There are some fabulous photos of this car in Hollywood, parked in front of his restaurant. This is mid-century, true mid-century Hollywood. I mean, these cars were driven by people like Dean Martin and Ava Gardner. I have to say, I know it well. It's a car that I might have had a hand in many years ago when I was waving the gavel, where I think we re-met recently. It was like a love story, isn't it, Hors? But he did buy the car when I was auctioneering, so it's great to see it. A very original car from the John Dick collection, which indeed I truly love. Thank you very much for coming back, or coming over to Salon Privé. It's good to see you here since Lugano. Then 300SC, and what a restoration on this Mercedes 300SC. Again, a car that I know well, and a car that I saw at Blenheim, and I was able to spend some time with it. And I don't say this lightly, this is probably the best restored 300SC coupe that I have ever seen. And it is the best specified car. Factory sunroof, fitted luggage. This is the rarest and most desirable of all the post-war Mercedes. You've got to think, This car was made at the same time as a 300 SL Gullwing. So side by side, similar engine. There was the 300 SC if you wanted a luxurious car of the 1950s, or if you wanted a more sporty car, you could have the 300 SL Gullwing. Both with that fuel-injected inline 6 Mercedes, but this one has unmatched opulence and luxury. Look at how much chrome there is on that car. Look at the size of the bumpers. Take a look at the interior. Take a look at the walnut dash. It is a golden spaceship on wheels. I mean, what a machine this is. There is nothing more refined that you could have at a 300C, and they were all hand-built, don't forget. I cannot tell you the painstaking restoration that's gone through it. Vin bought this car because it was his dream car at university. How about that? Always wanted one, and then went and found one. Thank you very much for bringing it over to Salon Privé. It's always great to see your 300SC Couvé. Citroën SM. I do love a Citroën SM. French avant-garde, can I say that? Styled by Robert Offrand, the SM was a futuristic flagship. This is 1973. This is the 1970s at its best. With this hydro-pneumatic suspension, the car can go up and down at will. It's got headlights that turn, swiveling headlights. So when you turn the wheel, the headlights turn. I mean, makes sense, right? We think Mercedes are good now because they do it. It was being done by Citroën in 1973. And an engine? Well, it had the Maserati V6. You might say, why? Why does it have the Maserati heart? Well, Citroën had acquired Maserati in 1968, and so they decided to put the Maserati 6-cylinder car into this SM. This is a striking color, so 1970s, and it's just been through a huge 2-year restoration. Look at the interior when you have time. It's got a button for a brake. It is literally a button for a brake instead of a pedal. This is the 1970s at its best. Thank you very much for bringing the 1973 Citroën SM to us here. Class H, ladies and gentlemen, Class I, sports racers. I can see you've been on the Mille 2025. Did you enjoy it? Did you finish? 142nd. You beat me. I came about last. I was there as well. XK120 OTS Open Top Sports 120. You all know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It was called the 120 because this car in 1950 was capable of 120 miles per hour. Have you been to 120 miles an hour on the car yet? Have you? You are a braver man than I am, because I definitely wouldn't do 120 miles an hour in an XK120. World's fastest production car of its day, which translated dominance at Le Mans 24 hours. Owned and paired by Hugh Chamberlain. He's accelerated team owner and Hall of Fame at Le Mans inductee. Well, Hugh had some modifications to make the car faster. You can see this car has got flared wheel arches, and what I love about it is that instead of restoring the car exactly as it came out of the factory, they kept all the period racing features in the car. It's a car that raced in in period, and so now it still does race. With all of its patina, I find it very, very, very charming. A true survivor that has a great story to tell. Thank you very much for coming with the XK120. Let me know the next time you do 120 miles an hour in your car. I'll come and watch. Now, XK120. Good day, gentlemen. Two, still staying in 1950s. Look at this for a different design. The Pegaso. I bet you haven't seen a Pegaso before. Z102 race car. It's a Spanish-built supercar. Built by Pegaso, it was a Spanish-owned, state-owned truck company. How about that? Well, the Z102 was was born out of their sports division. It was a mechanical marvel. There's a gentleman by the name of Wilfredo Ricat. He's a brilliant Catalan engineer, and he worked for Alfa Romeo. He worked for Ferrari. He was an engineer at Ferrari. He was chief engineer for Enzo Ferrari, and he got hired away to go back to Spain. And they say that there was a bit of a clash with Enzo Ferrari, and he thought he could build a car that was faster than a Ferrari, that was better than a Ferrari. He could out-engineer Ferrari. And I tell you what, the engine in the Pegaso is a V8 quad-cam, quite complicated engine. It is a marvel of engineering, and this car is capable of 150 miles an hour. One of the fastest cars of its era, even faster than the XK 120 that we had. There was only 3 lightweight competition cars, and it was actually entered into the 1952 Monaco Grand Prix, but unfortunately never did take the start. What if it would have raced in Monaco? Ladies and gentlemen, the Pegaso. It's been seen here at Villa d'Este, at Pebble Beach, an exacting restoration by Mr. Schorsch from Audrey. Good day, gentlemen. Speedy from the Golden Age collection, expertly driven, a rare survivor. This one of the, or you can leave it on, you can cut it off, you can do whatever you like. I'll just chat for a few seconds. One of the 10 DB3s that were built, and one of only 8 that remain today. It's probably one of the rarer Aston Martins that we will see parade in front of us. It was designed from the ground up. This was a completely new design, specifically made for racing. This is the era of Jaguars and Astons racing, sports racers at Le Mans. It was a space frame chassis, so very advanced. The Dion rear end, not to get too technical, but really this paved the way to Aston Martin winning at Le Mans. Sold to Bob Dickinson, a privateer who was a very good privateer, might I add, who often was supported by the Aston Martin factory, and he had a very busy 1953 season where he did the British Grand Prix race at Silverstone, the Tourist Trophy and the Isle of Man. He was out a lot in this car, and even entered Le Mans in 53, but unfortunately never took the start. Ladies and gentlemen, you have in front of you the Aston Martin DB3. 1964 now. You have definitely not seen a car like this before. An Alpine M64 or M64. This is a Le Mans prototype. It was just one of 3 Alpines built by Jean Redele. He was the owner of Alpine. Jean Redele was actually just a retail seller of Renaults and was tuning the cars until he launched the brand Alpine, because he works so much with Renault's French team. Of course, I told you about racing colors before. You see it's blue because it's a French racing car. And you might not believe this, but this was a bit of a Le Mans hero. In 1964, it finished 17th overall, which you might not think is very special, but you know what? Crucially, it won the index of thermal efficiency. You see, already back then, we were worried about fuel consumption at the time. It did the 2,436 miles with a 100 mile per hour average. 21 miles per the gallon if you're interested. I did do the calculation. And it was a 1 liter Renault Gordini engine in the back, and that's what made it so efficient. Look at how slippery and lightweight with the fins, because Le Mans was all about top speed and keeping stable on the long straights, and so this aerodynamic long design. Hidden for 50 years after its racing career, it resurfaced a few years ago, and you know what the best bit is? In 2022, the car went back to Le Mans and did the Le Mans Classic race. How great. And this year as well, and this year as well, and maybe next year, now that they're doing it every year. That's actually probably a bit too old. But yeah, it's great to see it back at Le Mans. 57 years after its debut, it went back and hopefully won the index of performance again. I don't know, we'll have to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, the Le Mans prototype. Mitch, thank you very much for bringing it over. M64. You wouldn't think that's just a 1 liter engine, would you? Romeo, something close to my heart. TZ1 by Zagato. TZ, why? Tubolare Zagato. Tubolare means tubular in Italian. That's is the chassis. This is a Alfa Romeo chassis, which is made of many tubes to make it stiff and yet light. Z, Zagato, well, obviously, it is styled by Zagato. This was a lightweight racing coupe with a tubular space frame built by Zagato, both for the road, for the hill climbs, and for the track as well. Prepared for racing in that period, it was immediately sent to Concours. You can see the stickers on the side, which prepared the car, thank you very much, which prepared the car for racing, and it raced in France in 65, 66, 67, 68 in races and rallies with great success. Interestingly, you often see him in red, but this car was born white and immediately painted to red. But what we really like about this car is its originality. So many of these cars, you see, were raced hard. They were fast, they were driven all the way to the limit and often damaged. The body on this car is so thin, it is so fragile. It's beautiful, but it's fragile. So often they got damaged, often they were rebodied, but not this car. This is as original as it gets. This is exactly as you would have seen it come out the factory. I even love the old French tax stickers in the windscreen, and yet still raced. What a great balance. A very pretty Alfa Romeo TZ1, TZ1. Thank you for bringing it over. From lightweight and refined to pure brute power. Look at this, AC Cobra Mark II. This is in the same family since 1977. 2 owners from new. How about that? Very rare to find a right-hand drive Cobra. Only about a 50 or less than 50 ever made. And it's a car that gets out. I've seen it on the Tour Autos and Tour de Spagnas and Modena 100 Ore. You see, this is the AC chassis. We always talk about 2 different countries coming together. Remember Carroll Shelby? Well, he had the great idea of getting the AC chassis, and instead of having a small 4-cylinder engine, he dumped in the big American V8. And it made for a fantastic car that won races all over the world. I mean, if you think of American sports cars, what do you think? You think the AC Cobra. I've been lucky enough to spend some time behind the wheel of an AC Cobra, and I can tell you, both racing and driving on rallies, and I can tell you they are so much fun to drive. I'm just lucky enough to do the Tour Auto in it, and we had a great time. I think we put it to 4th gear and just never changed gear again. It's got so much torque. Unlike any other car, it's completely or very original, not over-restored like so many of the cars are. It remains unrestored, and I think it should stay that way. I love the interior. Don't ever touch it and keep driving it. Every scratch on it tells a part of the story. Well done, keep driving it, and keep it in the family. Jason, well done. Now we have a special BMW. Presented by none other than Dylan Miles. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a bit of history. There's definitely 2 people in the car, but I think there's only 1 seat. No! Do we have health and safety around here? The very first M car. Everyone knows BMW. Everyone knows the M symbol on a BMW. M3s, M2s, M5s, I mean, you name it. Well, this was the very first car built by BMW Motorsports GmbH in 1972. This is a true part of history. The prototype, the test and development car. But not only that, there's a nice little anecdote to go with it. You see, BMW homologated the aero kits, what we like to call the aero kit, the wing, called the Batmobile, the fins on the front, the deep front bumper. It was quite a wild aero kit and quite a wild livery to go with it. And they were testing and racing, and they were trying to homologate all of this extra add-ons to make the car go faster. Well, The homologation came in late at one night on July the 1st. Well, what did they do? They happened to be racing that weekend, so they immediately collected the car from the track, brought it back to the closest BMW dealer, fitted all of the aero kit, and the Batmobile was born. Driven by none other than Hans Stuck, his name is on the door, and scored wins at the Nürburgring and all over Germany. The very first M car from BMW. Dylan, thank you very much for bringing the M car, the Batmobile, over to us. They do tend to get a bit low. I mean, they homologated it, but they didn't think about Salon Privé 50 years later trying to parade in front of all of us. From the collection of Martin Haluza, a very early Ferrari, and yes, we have changed class. We are in Class J, the Ferrari racers of the 1950s. 1951 Ferrari 212 Export, very important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Berlinetta by Touring. Early Ferrari powered by Colombo V12. Only about 175 horsepower, but still a front runner in the GT racing at the start. Now, I said to you, it is an Export. Well, why is that important? Well, this is the shorter wheelbase, the lighter version. It's a competition-focused Ferrari Berlinetta. This was born to go racing right from the first day. In contrast, we have the Europa models, which were rather more luxurious. If you have the time to look in the interior, you'll see there are no frills, there are no luxuries. It is 2 seats, a dashboard, and that's about it. Quite cool that it was delivered new to Italy. Angelo Carraceni was the first owner, who was Italy's foremost tailor house. He was a very successful tailor if he could afford to buy himself a brand new Ferrari to go racing. And he did the Giro di Sicilia, he did the Coppa della Toscana, he raced it all over Italy in the 1950s. Went over to America, and then since has returned with Martin Haluza, and it's a car that you often see on events all around Europe, from the Monaco Historic to the Monteracentore. He definitely drives it on the track. So it's not only beautiful with this touring barchetta type design, it is also very competitive. Now, I have to admit, this is a car that I know quite well. This is the Ferrari 340 Mexico Berlinetta Vignale. Look at the design of this car, all the way from Mexico, and very fitting. Santiago has brought us his 340 Mexico, built for glory and nothing else. There were 3 of these Mexicos built by Ferrari for the 1952 Carrera Panamericana. You see, they won in 1951, and so in 52 they designed some specifically built cars to go and win the race. And this car was handed none other than Alberto Ascari. He was the double Formula One world champion, and Ferrari said, Ascari, here's your car, here's your specifically built car, go and win the Carrera Panamericana for us. Unfortunately, it didn't end so well for him, as on the second day, he had a altercation with the side of the mountain, shall we say, and could not finish the race. Went back to the Ferrari factory, was repaired, and the next person to take the car into his own hands was none other than a very young Carroll Shelby. Yep, long before he became a Le Mans winner, long before he started making his own cars, he was racing this Carrera Panamericana. This is the most powerful, or one of the most powerful Ferraris you could buy. A 4.1 litre V12 Lampredi, more than any other car in the field at the Carrera that year. And I can tell you, I spent a lot of time with this car. It is restored to perfection. Not to talk about money, but this is a $1 million restoration. And you know what the best thing is? Santiago's now going to take it to Italy and go on rallies and tours in it. No better place for this car. Just be careful because it's really fast. Not even Ascari can handle the power, so be careful. Thank you very much, Santiago. Listen to that exhaust note. I was going to say Beauty and the Beast, but that's the Beast, and then this is the Beauty. Ferrari 225S Berlinetta Vignale. Look at how pretty this car is. Built in the 1952 Colombo engine. Very different engine note, you'll find. Also a V12, but a very different engine note from the 340 Mexico. The 225S was meant to be fast. It was meant to be flamboyant. It was meant to be competitive in racing. It had a reputation of winning in the hill climbs and on the endurance rallies of the time. This car actually made its debut at the Mille Miglia in 1952 with Bruno Sterzi. Unfortunately, he actually never finished the race. But just weeks later, broke down. He was back in the car, back driving, Coppa della Toscana and the Coppa Inter-Europa Monza. So this was a true racing car and finished exactly as you see it today, in that two-tone blue and white color. So successful that Ferrari even photographed this car in the yearbook in 1952. Is there a more pretty, little, small Ferrari? And don't forget, it's not a slow car. It still has a 12-cylinder engine under the bonnet. Thank you very much for bringing the 225S to us. Vignale had some very, very distinctive design traits at the time. Buongiorno, ci vediamo di nuovo, ribenvenuto. All the way from Italy, on behalf of Mr. Prevosti, we have the Ferrari 250 Monza Scaglietti Spider. There's only 4 Monzas ever made, and this is one of the 4 cars. You see, there was a 750 Monza, which is a great chassis, but a 4-cylinder engine. So what Ferrari had the brilliant idea is to take that fantastic chassis and put one of their 250 engines in the car. Another car here from the Carrera Panamericana. Look at the Mexican livery, look at the 340 Mexico. You see the sponsors that were hand-painted on the side of the car at the time. The DR rear end, this was a really advanced car of the day. It was lightweight and it was fast. It was the best of both worlds, the best of that light chassis with a 12-cylinder engine at the time. 3rd overall in Monza, and it raced all over Europe, but really it was the Carrera Panamericana legend. It did the race and it finished, finishing in a very honorable 5th. And it also had a near miss. At the 10 hours of Messina, can you imagine? This car dominated. It was winning in 1952. It was way ahead. And after 10 hours of racing, just 14 minutes before the end of the race, the rear axle failed and it never finished. How about that? Can you imagine? It's to be remembered just for its rarity, but also for the heroic moments, not only in Mexico, but also in racing. A fabulous car. Grazie mille che sei venuto con la macchina, ci rivediamo ancora domani. All the way with me, Mr. Prevosti. Another Ferrari, this time we could say one of the greatest. The Ferrari 250 Testa Rossa. Did you get scared there? A bit too fast. It's among one of the most iconic Ferrari sports racers. Multiple winner of the Le Mans 24 Hours and Sports Car Championship. Testa Rossa, well, that was actually a nickname. So I feel nice to see you. Very well driven. Redhead, Testa Rossa, if you translate from Italian, means redhead. Well, where does that come from, you might ask? It comes from the red painted cam covers of the engine. You see, Ferrari decided to paint them red, and then it captured that nickname which stuck with the car, the 250 Testa Rossa. And of course, which we all love today, there was a controversy over the pontoon fenders. You know, that design of in the front nose, which looked futuristic at the time, but it was form for function. It was designed to cool the brakes. Everyone thinks that it was just a beautiful and outrageous design. No, it was done so that the brake cooling would be much better at the time. It would channel the air over the brakes and out the side of the car. This car famously raced in America, and I think we can talk about it, had a bit of a bump, a famous crash into a lake in Texas. It was pulled out of the lake, it was repaired, and I love it, the then owner then let his daughter drive the car on the open roads. I mean, I wish my dad would do that for me. What a jewel of the Bamford collection. We've seen it at many, many, many events. This is one of the most famous, one of the most romanticized Ferraris of all time. Look at those magnaphone exhausts at the back. Look at the design. There is nothing sexier, I think I can say, no, not the new Peter, than a Testarossa. And it so happens that one of these won Le Mans 58. Well, thank you very much. There we go. How good does it get? Thank you very much. Engineering brilliance, colourful stories, the pontoon fender Testarossa. Class K, Ferrari, Ferrari, Ferrari. So we talked about the export earlier on. Well, here we have the Europa, also a 212. Do you remember the 212 export, the little red Berlinetta that I said to you was racing all over Europe? Well, this was its counterpart. Same time, same similar engine, but you'll notice a longer wheelbase. This was the luxury version, a boot to take your luggage with you, some quasi seats in the back. This was an elegant gentleman's road car for long trips. Ferrari didn't only build race cars. You know that he was building cars and selling cars during the week to go racing on the weekends. This is more of a factor of a show car. This was real luxury gentleman's GT. Nice little story that actually this car was exhibited, imagine, in Pebble Beach, the one of, apart from Salon Privé, of course, the leading concours of the world, in 1961. I can tell you that that was way before Pebble Beach became famous. It was just a little concours on a golf field. And a nice little story, the entrance, whoops, the entrance at the time, none other than a Mr. Ferrari. How about that? No, not Enzo Ferrari. It just so happened that the then owner was named Ferrari. Quite good name to have on the logbook. Painstaking restoration, 7 years by Epifani, and you have perfection in the front of you. The 212 Coupe, the gentleman's Ferrari, shall we say. Is always a great supporter of our event, and this year she pulled out all of the stops. Oh my God, driving herself. I never thought I would see this car in real life. The 1956 Ferrari 410 Super America, nicknamed Super Fast. I think just looking at it deserves a round of applause, absolutely. The fins. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at the car and it looks like it's moving. It looks like it's going, excuse the pun, super fast just looking at it. Wow! The 410 Super America, the only one built with this Pininfarina unique coachwork. It's like a futuristic car. Look at the fins coming out the back with a rounded tail, the faired-in headlamps. This is a Pininfarina masterpiece. Imagine when it was unveiled at the 1956 Paris Salon, when it was the fastest touring car of its time. I mean, it looks fast, it's called super fast, and it's the only one in the world. And it had a special engine, you see. They've been developing a racing Ferrari called the 410 Sports with a big, bad, fast engine. One of the most powerful racing Ferrari engines at the time. And what did they do? They put it into this GT car. Best of show in many, many concours where it's been. And now that I see it in real life, I can see why. The only Pininfarina bodied Ferrari 410 Super America, nicknamed Super Fast.
Sorry.
I absolutely love it. That is just magnificent.
Yeah, too late. Too late.
Look at the taillights. You're in love, aren't you?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
How cool is that? Staying with my favorite brand, Ferrari, Ferrari, Ferrari. I know, cliche, but I do love them. And I think you do as well, Andrew, so. What should we say? The Ferrari 250 Lusso. Driven and not hidden. I think that's great. In the 1970s, this car was actually owned by a gentleman in New York. I just thought it was a nice little anecdote to start off with. In New York City, and this was his daily driving car. He would commute from wherever he was in New York into the city to go to drive in his Lusso in the 1970s. Isn't that cool? So, rare beauty. There's only 350 of these cars built, supplied new to America. And again, Lusso, does obviously in Italian stands for luxury. This was the luxury model of the 250 range. You could buy the Berlinetta Passo Corto, otherwise known as a short wheelbase, or you could buy a Ferrari 250 Lusso, more luxurious, more refined interior, more boot space. But actually, this design is magnificent. It doesn't look old, it doesn't look heavy, it still has the look and the feel of a sports car, and most important, it has that 3-liter Colombo engine that just sings when you get it going. True racing pedigree. A little anecdote as well, that gentleman in New York, when he sold his car, he sold it in 1978 to the next owner for $6,750. I bet we all wish we would have bought it at the time. Yes, it's worth a lot more money now. Kept for 30 years and by father and son, repainted in what we call retail red in the 1980s, and now restored by Bob Houghton. Full nut and bolt restoration, probably better than it's ever been in its original colors. The Ferrari 250 250 Lusso. One of Mr. Bagley's favorite cars of the event, I think. One of. Ferrari 275 GTB by Scaglietti. This car was right-hand drive, yes, delivered here by Maranello Concessionaires. Probably one of the most famous Ferrari dealers in history. 1965, he was the official UK importer at the time. The first owner specified the car with 6 carburetors, so he was obviously looking for a sportier drive. Only 2 owners over the past 60 years, and still finished today in the striking Rosso Cina, which is a beautiful red. Who says red doesn't suit Ferraris? I mean, the 275 was a landmark car. The design of it, with a very long bonnet and a cam tail, I think it's a timeless design. Often I get asked about who is going to be the buyer of our old cars. Does the next generation like the younger generation? Do they like the old cars? Well, I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, if you show a young man an old car, when he sees a 275, he says, I want that. It is something about that design. Still that 12-cylinder engine, 5-speed gearbox. This is a car that I would have no problem getting into and driving down to London or further tonight. It is a true GT car, and what looks it has. Another iconic Ferrari. Thank you very much for bringing the 275 over to us. Speaking of the next generation, Class J, supercar pinups of the 1980s and of the 1990s. 1981, who doesn't love an 80s car? 924 Carrera GT. This is, yes, a homologation special. Porsche had to satisfy Group 4 racing regulations, and so the Carrera GT had to be homologated as a road car. You can see the wider wheel arches, the lighter panels that they could use for racing, and a tuned, turbocharged engine. I mean, this is true 80s tuning at its best. This car was delivered here to the UK, and for a collector, it's everything you would want. It is completely original, and this is what we look for in these cars. Just 3,000 miles from you. Oh, are we not happy about something? This is complete with all the books, the spare keys, everything that you want. Documented history, a Porsche homologation special, which has never ever been abused and used. Exactly as it would have come out of the factory, down to the correct tires, I see. Well done. I love your 924 Carrera GT. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You've seen the Porsche homologation car. Next, we show you the Ferrari 288 GTO. Paul Hogarth has very kindly sent his 288 GTO. It has such a specific engine note car. This is so many things. Where do I start? This is the first Ferrari supercar. This is built again for homologation after Group 4, but Group B now. Ferrari had to build a car and sell at least 200 of them to homologate for Group B. This is the time, the 1980s, when Group B rallying was even bigger than Formula 1. It was a huge, huge rallying series, and Ferrari thought they were going to get into rallying, and this is what they built. But it started much more than that. After the 288 GTO, it started the supercar series, the F40, the F50, the Enzo, the LaFerrari goes on today. But at the time, the 288 GTO was created, but never actually homologated. Before they could even compete, Group B was abandoned. Group B was cancelled. It was considered to be too dangerous. There were too many accidents, too many deaths. The cars were just too fast. However, it just made the car even more mythical. Twin turbocharged V8. It's the fastest car of its time, fastest production car of its time. I can say it, it left Lamborghini for dead. It is started from humble beginnings, started from a 308, and now is probably one of the most desirable modern era, if I can call it that, Ferrari cars in existence. Carbon, Kevlar, everything was thrown at it. It's a car for those who know, then they know. The 288 GTO. What a rarity. The 911 Club Sport. 911 Carrera Club Sport. Another special from the 1980s. 1988 now, a little bit later. Why is it special? It's just a 911, you might say. Well, you know, in Porsche worlds, this is the purest version. It's a 3.2 Carrera, stripped basically of any comfort, and it costs more. No sunroof, no rear seats, no sound insulation. It saves about 70 kilos. It's the equivalent of what we call the GT3 RS today, what everyone wants. This car was quite a famous car here in the UK, as affectionately known as Ewok, because it's always had that number plate, and it's well known in the Porsche circles. Once owned by a BRDC board member and F1 driver, so comes with good heritage, who regularly drove to Le Mans in this car. You can see on the number plate, still has that BRDC badge. This is a collector's gem. This is the one that you want, the Carrera Club Sport. Thank you very much for bringing the car over. Guys, we're running out of cars. Simon Furlonger has kindly brought us his Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV. Of course, Matt is actually driving for him. Matt, you get to do all the dirty work around here. Of course, being from Furlongers, it is absolutely the right version to have. And I'm sure you can all hear, it definitely doesn't have a standard exhaust. Matt, can we have the doors open? Can we open the doors? We know you like to show off. Doors open. Yeah, there we go. You're looking beautiful in there. Doors open. Doesn't it look great with those scissor doors, that's a Marcello Gandini design. He was still a Bertone, and that's one of the most iconic car designs that ever came out of Bertone. You know, you've seen them before. To reverse these cars, you need to sit on the sill and stick your head out the door because you cannot see anything out of it. Thank you very much, man. The demonstration of how to reverse a Lamborghini Countach from a true expert. This car was supplied new to a billionaire, a businessman who was Gerald Carroll, who was once worth the equivalent of £1 billion. And what did he buy himself? A Lamborghini Countach, and actually, interestingly, the third of a Countach that he had. I absolutely love a Countach. It is so outrageous, it looks so fast. Whether it really is fast or not, we'll have to decide, but they are so cool. Matt from Furlongers, thank you very much for bringing us the Countach 1000 QV. Look at the rear end on that. 512 TR. Remember I told you about the Testarossa? Well, this has it in the name. TR was, this is the continuation of that pontoon fender 250 Testarossa. Looks a little bit different now. We've moved on to the 1990s. This is the evolution of the first Testarossa, the 512 TR, and looks a bit different to the 250 Testarossa that we had. Interestingly, that this car had Maranello's flat 12 boxer engine, a 5-litre, 428 horsepower, giving an almost 200 mile per hour top speed. One of the fastest supercars of the 1990s, and actually quite a luxurious car. You'd think it's a brute to drive, well no. It's a 12-cylinder, non-turbocharged engine. It is actually makes for a great touring car, as long as you don't have much luggage, of course. This is the car that became famous with Miami Vice. Not this one, but you'll all remember the Testarossa, the white Test TR in the thing. Ferrari, luxury and performance at its best. The 1992 Ferrari 512 TR for Testarossa. Those slats and air intakes on the sides are so iconic now. Tony, you're back with another car, a bit more sporty this time. The 1999 Aston Martin Vantage V550, known as the gentleman's muscle car. Tony's a gentleman and he's got a muscle car, so this is really well suited to him. It's a brute in a suit. The V550 had Aston Martin's luxury. The interior is luxurious, the leather used, but with the supercar performance. 550 horsepower from this Aston Martin, the most powerful Aston Martin of its day. 0 to 16, 4.6 seconds, and I'll have you know, as long as Matt is not here, he was actually faster off the line than Lamborghini Countach. Don't tell him I said that. But what's really special is it's all hand-built. You're going to show us now how fast it is off the line. It's all hand-built, produced at Newport Pagnell. This is quintessentially English. It was one of the final 550s before Aston transitioned to new generations, and they were no longer hand-built. Now, hand-built is great, but it does come with some small quality defects, but it's part of the charm of the car. The very last of the Aston Martin Vantage V550, brought here by Tony Robinson.
Max, I cannot believe it. For the first time in 20 years, we've finished on time.
You told me to.
It's 4 o'clock, it's English afternoon tea time. Judges, thank you all so much for your work today. We've still got more to do. We've got some decisions to make on class winners, and of course tomorrow morning we will be discussing who will walk away tomorrow night with the best of show. A massive round of applause please for Mr. Max Girardo from Girardo.
Great pleasure, thank you for having me, thank you.
Nice to meet you.